Hello, and welcome back to this new episode of the Feminine Purpose Hub Redefining Success from Survive to Thrive. Today, we are going to discuss the concept of balancing feminine and masculine energies. We'll look at what each energy represents, why balancing is actually really crucial, and how you can integrate both for a more harmonious and impactful life and career. Are you ready? Let's get started. So first, let's just discuss about what are feminine and masculine energies as such. So feminine energies are typically considered being more receptive, more nurturing, more intuitive, and more collaborative. It's also the space where you're going to have more creativity based on the fact that you're going to be more intuitive. So this is where we're calling out working with flow, just feeling ourselves being inspired, connecting with others, and then building on the relationship. So they're the things that typically should feel very natural, actually, when you're thinking about it. So that's really what we're discussing when we're talking about feminine energies. On the other side, we have the masculine energies. So the masculine energy are more action orientated. They are more logical, they're goal driven, they're assertive. So they're really what you're going to use when you need to be organized, when you need to take actions specifically to be able to realize, to achieve any goals. And that's where you're relying basically on taking inspired action. So that's what you're going to do to make things concrete. So, first, let's understand what are feminine and masculine energies. So, we are going to start describing both of them. Typically, the feminine energy is considered more receptive, more nurturing, more intuitive, and more collaborative. This is what you're going to rely to feel inspired, to feel creative, to build relationship, as well as connecting with people. So we're talking about something which is more nurturing, but it's also more empathetic. So that's the moment really where you're going to use that energy. Yeah, really to feel emotions, to feel connected to the world around you, to be able to be more aware of what is going on around you. The feminine energy is very much connected to who you are, the person that you truly are, without before any rules are coming up to tell you what you should be or what you should be doing. It is really about your own essence and personality. It's considered as well to be quite flexible, more adaptable. So, and we'll understand why very easily when we are going to talk about the masculine. And yes, that's also the thing that's going to make you feel more empowered, more confident, and grounded. So, this is really the energy which is quite crucial for you to feel balanced in your daily life. You want to have it and to rely on it to find your central zone, just to feel very centered. On the other side, you've got the masculine energy, which is more related to what you do or what you have. The masculine energy is more action orientated. It's going to be logical, goal driven, and assertive. It's typically what you're going to use to be able to leverage your logical and analytical capabilities. That's where, as well, that's what actually also is going to activate your sense of competitiveness when what you want to leverage as well to be more focused and structured. So when you need to put a plan together, you typically will rely more on your masculine energy. That's where you're going to be logical, organized, structure. That's also something which is quite crucial to be able to move things forward. Something that I really want to emphasize on as well is that these energies, I'm talking about masculine and feminine energies, we're talking genuinely about the yin yang. That's something really that everyone has. So it's not related specifically to being a woman or being a man. We all use both of our energies. The thing is that sometimes they are going to be quite unbalanced, because our society, as it is, tend to rely more on the masculine energy. They tend to be You tend to be more reliant on to constantly be doing something, feeling busy. That's what is valued. And the problem is that eventually that's where you to rely on being such a type A, such a person that's going to be so goal orientated, so action focused, that you're going to lead yourself to exhaustion because you're not going to rely enough on your feminine energy. And the other side, that's also something in which is going to lead you to feel a bit disconnected to the world around you, to disconnect as well from your own energy, from your own emotions. So that is also why sometimes, and that's also the reason why you get to burnout, because that's when you're not able to see the signs because you're so focused on what you're doing. So that's the reason why it matters so much to balance both types of energies. And how does it translate as well when, as a feminine leader, as a, and when I'm saying feminine leader, again, I don't want to mention only people that are in position of leadership, but rather how you're showing up. And simply, as I was mentioning, your feminine energy is going to allow you to feel more connected to the world around you. So that means the outer world, but also the inner world. You're more connected to your own energies, to your own emotions. You are able to know when you need to stop and to do some self-care. And you're also going to favor it. You're going to simply embrace and just put in place those moments where you actually just going to focus on your well-being, on your self-care, on your emotion. You're going to try and connect to it. And that's how the kind of practices like journaling, meditating, walking outside, taking a walk in nature. These are the moments where you're typically going to embrace more your feminine energy. And these are the moments that you are going to need to be able to recharge. And then after that, going back and re-embrace your masculine energy. I was talking to someone today who is in a position of leadership, and she was explaining how, with her team, she actually encourages them to take the time sometimes that they need to take back the time that they need when they've been pushing too much. So they've been traveling a lot, they would have worked to project after project, and she would say, well, I want people to make sure that they taking that time back, that they're resting, taking care of themselves. The world keeps going around you, even when you're working. And it's really important to be able to connect that, because I've seen other leaders that were not able to, I don't think even able to detect, to identify that there were two types of energies that they needed to rely on, and that were very much pushing constantly themselves. But because you are in a position when you are leading people, or people are looking after you, for your example, what they're going to do is simply doing the same. So instead of having you only who's going to be burnt out, you're going to have other people that are going to be burnt out and unbalanced. And I think the thing that we need to actually understand of that is that as much as being goal oriented is going to be important, there is going to be a time when, if you spend your time taking actions constantly, you don't even take the time to be able to embrace and see the results and what you've achieved. And you also don't take the time to be able to consider what should be the next step for you, and what should be the next steps in your current process, on what you're actually looking to achieve overall. I think something that I've heard as well from other leaders, people that were working in project management, something that really marked me from one leader that I found very inspiring. He told me, I think overall, I'm working like when I hire a project manager, I know that I'm hiring them for a phase. I know the phases have seasons, and I think another leader that I worked with told me more or less the same thing in different words. But projects have seasons, You have seasons, and that's also something that we use a lot in terms of purpose coaching, feminine coaching. We have seasons that we want to embrace. You have your winter phase, um, you have your summer phase. That's also something that we find for women, with our menstrual cycle. We have phases. Each phase of our cycle is either our spring, our summer, autumn. So we do want to be able to consider those things, and to go back to that leader that he when he explained that, he's like, I know that at that moment I will need someone who's going to be more creative, someone who's going to be able to put things in place. I know that at another stage of that project, I will need someone who's going to be more action oriented. And I think it's something that I found quite inspiring, so impressive to have that lucidity, to be able to say, my project cannot always come from the same place of inspiration, from the same place of action. And things need to change at times. I need to use the right resources for the right time. And that's something that you need to apply to yourself as a person. Sometimes you need to use the right resources at the right times. And that means that at some point, you need to be able to rely on the things that are going to be more play, creativity, inspiration. And that's where you're going to be able to spend some time maybe thinking and brainstorming and just feeling really inspired and trying to activate that kind of feeling, or that kind of situation. And then after that is going to come the phase where you need to put things in place. And that's actually something where basically we have different phases. So here it was more in relation to Indian philosophy, to Ayurveda. So we do have different phases where we're more into ideation, other phases where we're more into taking action, and other phases where we're just more, rest and um, and think about what happened before, and trying to think of the next steps and going back to the ideation stage. And if you stay too much on each of those phases, then you just happen to burn out. Really, put it simply, you just happen to either burn out, or either be in a phase where you are mm, just staying still, a phase of too much stillness. And then it's really hard to get in either of them. If you're staying too long in the phase of ideation, you're not taking action. If you're staying too long into the phase of action, you are not resting, or you are not focusing on what you've already achieved. So I think all of that applies consistently, and it's about finding balance overall in your lifestyle, in your way of thinking, in your way to address your your different seasons as it is. So it's really about, yes, figuring out when it is too much, basically. When it is too much of ideation and you need to take action. When it is too much of action and you need to rest. And all those phases, if you think of it, the ideation is really going to be very much about the feminine. The action is going to be very much about your masculine. And then you actually kind of swift back to um, bit of feminine and a bit of masculine in the last phase when you're more in your reflection. So yes, that's the things that I wanted to mention as well in terms of balancing. Embrace your seasons. Just try to figure out what are my different seasons. Eventually, just see it within a month. I know the temptation is always to do it over the day, and you can do it over the day. I would say very likely what you would want to do is figuring out how your energy works over a day, then how it works over a week, and then how it works over a month. and so on. Again, going back to the idea of women having different phases actually and different seasons over the month if they're following their menstrual cycle. So you're going to have more the winter during your periods. You're going to be moving back to spring when you're more on your ovulation phase. And then after that, you're going to be more into summer. So when you're balancing these energies, you are going to benefit from it just because you'll be able to reduce stress and foster creativity and then overall boost your well-being. So these are energies that you really want to be able to work on. And you want to be able to work on them to also just maybe measure exactly how is your energy going throughout the day and how it's going over a week and how it's going over a month. For women, we typically have obviously a monthly cycle versus men that have a daily cycle. That being said, because we are mostly in a society that is mostly based on the masculine, I mean the men energy. So men cycle, there you go. That's where we actually also want to figure out how we work it out through the day. But it's really important to be able to work with both, just to be able to know exactly over a month when at the moment where you're feeling the most creative and where you basically can lean more on your feminine energies versus where at the moment where your masculine energies are going to be predominant. So if you want to actually figure that out a bit further and figure out when each energy is, I mean, to be able to identify that a bit further. So first, try to figure out right now where you're standing. So, what are the kind of energies that you're mostly using? So, do you find yourself that always planning, always taking action, pushing forward, which means that you would rely mostly on your masculine energy? But there would be necessarily moments where this where that are counterbalancing it. So, what are those moments, and how can you actually rebalance it and reintroduce them a bit more into your daily life, so you can actually find yourself having more balance and being more work-life balance and connecting more, spending more time playing and being creative and being intuitive. Do you want to be able to connect to your intuition? The feminine intuition is really real, and you want to be able to rely on it to just see the world around you in different eyes. So that's one. If you want to figure out maybe if you need on the other side more action, so do you feel like you mostly rely on being introspective, being intuitive, and collaborative? Is it word that you need the most? I think there's definitely a bit of both. So you want to be able to balance a bit of both all the time, just making sure that you're not overusing one of them and being able to just detect it and identify it and just take the actions to rebalance. So, for example, let's say you're finding out that you're mostly planning, taking action, and pushing forward. How can you just move a bit backwards, take a step back and stop, and then just implement other things where you have those moments of creativity, of being able to connect with your intuition, feeling more collaborative. So that's something very important for one. And then on the other side, if you're finding that you're mostly relying on your intuition, on being introspective, on collaboration, but to the point where you're not able to lead your own projects, for example, that you cannot actually achieve some of your personal goals, um, then it might be that you're relying a bit too much on your feminine energy. There can be other things, which is overall, that actually you're overdoing it, and then in this case you're being masculine, you're overdoing it, and then you're never completing it. That's another case, but in this case, as more related, I think, to gaining clarity on what you want to achieve, and what's really inspiring you. So, to some extent, it might as well also be masculine energies that are playing up, in the sense that instead of really spending time with yourself and finding what's inspiring you, then you're going to be in a place where you want to try so many things, and you're just putting those in place because you feel like you have to. We can see in this case like the pressure of the society. I think when we do have that overload of the masculine energy, there is also a lot of the conception that we think that we have to, because we have the pressure of the society, and that's how success is measured, and that's how we are seeing ourselves doing well, and being represented out there. So that's more another style of leadership. And I think mostly what you want to figure out is how you can balance, because it's also about who you are rather than only about what you do. And that's where you want to really find that out when you're overdoing it and over relying on it, and then and take a step back and forget a bit what society has been telling you, and just really spending time with yourself, and say, okay, but what is important for me? How do I want to do things that are going to be working for me? Some practices that you can put in place to rebalance and integrate both energies. So, for strengthening your feminine energy, you want to spend some time meditating and doing intuitive journaling. I want to spend a bit of time with the intuitive journaling. I think it's very interesting. I had clients that were like, "Oh, like, and I was asking them, do you journal a bit?" And they felt very uncomfortable with the idea to journal just about them without having any prompts. And as much as I do like prompts, as much as the next guy, as much as the next girl, um, I think it's so important to just journal for yourself. Like, I think it's a practice that I have done since I am a kid. I just spend time thinking about my days, is thinking about the things that are weighing on me, or the thing that I'm so excited about, um, or trying to clarify my ideas. And I think it is something that really you need to spend time to develop. Prompts are great. I do give prompts as well. But the best way, I think, to connect with yourself on a regular basis is to just being able to journal for yourself without any prompts. Um, because as much as I think they're great to have, sometimes the prompts are going to be put in a certain context, in a certain um, at a certain time. So let's say you're doing a course about feminine leadership like I am, then you're going to be journaling about feminine leadership, and that's the prompt. That's what the prompts are going to be about. If you're doing a course around manifestation, that's what the prompts are going to be about. So you want to be able sometimes you're going to have a tough day, and sometimes it's just going to happen, and you will want to be able to journal about why you're having a bad time at that moment, because you want to be able to clarify that. So I just really wanted to highlight that point, because yes, journaling, having prompts, amazing, but you also need to be doing your intuitive journaling, and that's where you're going to be able to connect with yourself in a more spontaneous way. And just as well, spend some time for set aside some time for reflection and creativity. That reflection can be that's part of the intuitive journaling, is going to be part of it, but sometimes it's just going to be going outside or walking and just being on your own with yourself, and just being with your thoughts, really. And the other part would be being able to be creative, just painting, writing, playing. reconnecting with your inner child. Um, these are all parts of things that are going to be able, that are going to help you to connect with your feminine energy. On the other side, if you want to strengthen your masculine energy, then start trying to write down goals and set goals for yourself. Where do you want to go? What do you want to achieve? Um, why and how do you, and which kind of action can you put in place to actually realize that? And even within this, you can leverage actually your feminine energy, because in a sense of, yes, you want to set goals for yourself, having a schedule, organize yourself, but you also want to allow some flexibility. These are things that are really important for you. So, as much as, yes, you want to set goals, you want to maybe organize, put a schedule in place. If things happen, if life happens. So it's fine, and just allow some flexibility for new things to come in. Setting boundaries is actually something I think right in the middle. So setting boundaries is going to be something by default, which is really something really masculine, because you're taking action and basically saying to other people or for yourself, well, I'm setting those boundaries. This is where I am drawing the line. But it is also as well a feminine energy, because you're doing that for your own self care. This is a feeling that is telling you, these are the moments when I'm reaching out my limits and I need to protect myself to be able to do some self care. Self care, inviting self care in, is definitely inviting feminine energy. So, actually, taking a bath, for example, so for some people, it's going to be really that, just taking a bath, and like with bath bombs and salt and smell and candles. All these things are also considered being part of self care and being inviting the feminine energy, because very simply, it is something telling you that you're worthy of it, and you're worthy of it without having to earn it. So, same thing, the sense of reward, the sense of having to earn something is mostly triggered by the masculine energy. Whether, like, if you're actually, that you're putting in place your self care habits, and that you're just doing it because it is something that's making you feel good, and connect with pleasure, and connect with play, and just activating other types of sensation, then it's definitely going to be more of your feminine energy there. So I hope that was helpful. I think it might be a bit longer than other episodes, but I think it's quite also a stepping stone to be able to discuss other topics. There are a lot of things where I just was going to start discussing that I actually started talking about, and then I'm thinking, okay, you know what? No, that's going to be for another episode. That's going to be for another time. So that's such an important stepping stone, important pillars to be able to have, to be able to move forward with other conversation where we're talking about um, feminine leadership and purpose driven leadership. So I hope that was helpful. Feel free to comment and let me know if you have any question, and what are your experiences with actually identifying your feminine and your masculine energies, and how you work with them, and if you were working with them before. And yes, I cannot wait to hear from you. Until then, I'll see you for the next episode, and I wish you the best. Bye.